My name is Christopher Jensen, and I'm, I guess, from lots of different places. I've grown up in lots of different places, but I'm Swiss-born, of a Danish father and a German mom. I spent more or less half my life in Europe and the other half in the Americas. And I'm a doctor. And prior to coming to Thailand, we were living in China just prior to the pandemic. And then we moved back to the UK, where I trained. And we've always had a desire to come and live here in Thailand, so the opportunity came up. It was at a really interesting time in the kind of history of the world, and we decided that was the time, and here we are.
I'm Anna, his wife, and I'm from Spain, and I'm here just following his job and enjoying.
I can only say that our experience has been quite remarkable. It's been a really fun 2 years that we've been here. We came at a kind of a critical time in the way the world was, and we landed on this beautiful island. And it was a bit daunting at first. Living here has really opened our eyes to a lot of the things that we didn't know about living on an island. We've always lived in cities, or at least I've always lived in cities. And we've, over this year, we've really learned a lot about how important being in a place that's safe, being in a place that makes our lives well. Because I think physically you feel quite well in Phuket. It's a place where physically you feel well. It's good weather normally. There's some rain for some of the period, but generally the weather is very nice. The people are very inviting. There's obviously lots of things to do. There's lots of activities, and really the most important part of our being here, and I say this wholeheartedly, has been the school. That's not to say that the most important part of our lives in the UK and in Cambridge specifically wasn't the school as well. So we find that the school really centers us, centers our kids, and centers our reasons for the things that we do. And this school has lived up to that in a very remarkable way.
Our kids, Christopher is in reception and Alejandra is in year 2. They had a little bit difficult time with that COVID, and we've been in China, and then we came back to Cambridge. And our kids normally are in big schools with the green fields and everything. And in this period, they've been closed at home. And in China, they had to use the mask just for the pollution. And now here they feel free. They're happy kids in the big school they like. And they love to run and be outside all day, do a lot of activities. They're very happy here.
Because of the timing, obviously, when we got to Phuket, it just so happened that when we got here over Christmas, they started to have a little upsurge in number of cases. And what I said to not just my kids, but to the school, was that I didn't want to put the kids back in school until, and I promised my daughter actually, who was in year 1 at the time, that I wouldn't put her back in school until there wasn't online learning. In the middle of February of her first year was when the online learning stopped, and they were going to let the kids come back to school, which they did. And they were overjoyed, and I remember the first weeks that we were here, I was just thanking every teacher on this campus and every administrator for bringing our kids into this beautiful environment and helping them to start to learn. We were both, remember those days, we were both really excited to be here. And then of course, COVID reared its ugly head again. The school had to close down again, and the online learning ensued. At that point, we didn't really have a choice. The kids were then in the school, and they went back to online learning. But what we found, which was very different from our prior experiences with our online learning, of course, we had always known that the teachers were doing this an amazing thing by dedicating themselves to the online learning. But what we found here was that there was, I would say, a a really, really amazing amount of caring that went into how that online learning had taken shape. And I think because of the fact that it had a little bit more time to build on it over the prior year, what we found was that the kids really took to that online learning differently than they had when they had been in the UK. They enjoyed it, and there was a lot more integration. And especially for Christopher, when Christopher finally came back to school, the online learning had stopped. It was as if he hadn't left. That was the amount of work and the amount of engagement that the team in that year was able, and this was a nursery year. Mr. Neal and his team were able to dedicate after activities where they would go outside and they would film the teachers outside and they would bring that home to the kids.
Remember, Christopher didn't want to enjoy for the first time the online, and just Neil said, okay, let's do just half an hour of 10 minutes just with him alone. And he spent a lot of time with him, and he could then enjoy with all the class.
It was individualized to the kid. So if there was a child that wanted to come to school when the online learning came back, you had a choice. So if you didn't want to come to school because you were concerned about COVID, when it became that you could either stay at home or not, they had individualized tutoring for the kids, which was remarkable as well. Just in it, the amount of dedication that takes was enormous. And I think that I fed this back to the heads when I came back, because I was so impressed with how the kids felt and the amount of dedication that the kids had been given by their teachers. So I think a couple of things. One, our kids had been, my life has been built in education. My wife's as well, and we felt, that we wanted to continue the education that they'd already had. So being that we had been in a Dulwich school in China, we felt that continuing the British system would be the right way. That's where they had been in the Cambridge schools as well, and the schools that they had been in Cambridge. We then moved them to a similar curriculum in China, and we felt that the right thing to do would be to continue that. There were other options, and we looked, but every time we asked around, we asked parents, we asked teachers, we asked people who had been here in the past. I had a very good friend who lived in China who had, and I'm talking about probably 7 or 8 years ago, purchased a property on this property and told me about some of his friends that lived here. And those children had come to this school. And he said that there were some of the most well-rounded kids, that they had this incredible academic environment, that they had an incredible sporting environment, and that I should look at this school. And I remember that was before it was when Alejandra, my eldest child, was first born. I never thought I would end up in Phuket, but I always remember him talking about this school. So prior to us coming to Phuket, when it started to become apparent that we might be coming here, I started looking. And we started showing the kids videos, and we started showing the kids pictures. And one of the things that we were very consistent about was having spent time in Shanghai and in China, the pollution was an issue. Prior to the pandemic, I remember going to the school, and it was, I think it was a PM 2.5 of over 300, and the kids couldn't walk outside without having a mask on. And we were thinking, we don't want our kids to be in the playground with masks on. And this was 3 weeks before everything went, pear-shaped. And the whole world ended up in masks. But that said, when we said we were going to ultimately come to Phuket, one of the reasons that we chose Phuket over an opportunity that I also had to work in Bangkok was based on pollution. We wanted to be in a place where we were clean air and where we were going to feel safe, and we felt that an island would certainly tick both of those boxes, and it's done exactly that.
It's like people say you're living in the paradise. Then the beginning was a little bit hard because it was different culture and different from Bangkok as well. We felt a little bit like out. but little by little enjoying and meeting people like us, and then now we are in love of here, just living the paradise people can see. Just you need to know where you go, no?
Yeah, I mean we've been very lucky where we've lived, how we've lived, and the people that we've gotten to meet. We've met people from many different places. We've formed some important bonds with people whilst we've been here. The children have also formed friendships and relationships that I think will be long lasting. We've seen how resilient not only we can be but how resilient the kids can be, and we've learned a lot about ourselves, as I said, living here. I think that there are a few places that have as much going for it in terms of an island than this one. I don't think that there are many islands with the level of infrastructure in terms of healthcare, roads, hospitals. Again, I've said that twice, but because I work in healthcare, I can say that I think you've got a very good healthcare system. You've got obviously lovely beaches. You've got, if you love golf, there's golf galore. If you want to go sailing or diving, this is the place that you can do that. You can really enjoy. One of the things that we'd like to start doing is spending more time learning about some of the forests and some of the vegetation, and doing some of the activities that might involve hiking and these kinds of things. There's an amazing community of surfing that we didn't know existed, that we'd never really taken part in, but we were introduced to a surf class, and the kids started doing surfing on Saturdays, and they immediately got up on surfboards and started surfing. It's quite amazing. It's been a really special experience.
Yeah, you have city and you have a beach in 20 minutes, and then you can enjoy all kind of activities. And this is, I think, is a luxury.
Mm-hmm. I think that our kids are generally happy. They're happy kids. They're quite exuberant kids. All the teachers know our children. They are extroverts, both of them. But they're very excited. Alejandro's become a very strong reader. Christopher's gotten very involved in being a nice and caring child and looking out for his mates, which is important. I think that if you were to ask them if they're happy here, they of course are, but they're young. Do they miss certain things about living in the UK and in Cambridge, where they also live in a beautiful place? Yes, they do. I think one of the things that you might hear my daughter say, not my son, but she misses the cold. She misses going out and having a picnic in the grass. She'd like to ride her bike. She doesn't do a lot of that here, and she's a bit bothered by the amount of heat. But then she's in the water all day. They spent all of yesterday in the swimming pool. They're on the beach on the weekends. They're playing tennis. My daughter has become
asking to surf,
a golfer. And then, funnily enough, across the street is a skating rink. So they spent the weekend both days on Saturday and Sunday skating. My daughter's learning to figure skate, and my son will start to play hockey like I did when I was a kid. So
they having the cold they need, yeah.
So that we can take them for a cold spell at the hockey rink, and then walk out and take them to the beach. I think for me, both Anna and I are pretty active, or I was when I was a little younger, more so than I am now. I played a lot of winter sport, and I also played golf from the time I was very young. So when we were in the UK, we had a golf course across the street from us in Cambridge, and my daughter at 3 started to play golf, and she loved it. And you could see that she had a natural talent. But when she got here,
it was the first activity. Yeah,
it was the first activity, and Oliver Bates, who's the pro here, was just phenomenal with her. You can see he's clearly geared to kids, really good with kids, and I think obviously that's by design. He's there because he's a pro, but he's also there because he's good with children, and that comes out in the way that Alejandra has has improved her game, and loves the sport. So for her, it's been wonderful. And then on the tennis side of things, Gilles, who's come to lead the center, the golf center here, is coming from Wimbledon, coming from a background of running Nike's business at Wimbledon, and obviously has dealt with a lot of kids coming up in tennis, and is a pro himself. And the team that he's assembled around him, as I think I said before, is a very child-centric team for the same reasons. And these are people that are very good with children and love to teach. And Christopher has actually said that he wants to grow up and be a tennis player. So that means that somebody's doing something right, which is wonderful. I think when you live on an island and you're in a world that has the chaos going on outside, you've got a war in Europe for the first time in 60, 70 years. You've got an ongoing pandemic. People can say that it's over, it's not over. But they're somewhat shielded from that, right? You're in a neutral country, which is Thailand. You're in a place where they feel, I think, they're not telling us this, but I think they feel protected. I think that they feel
they're
safe.
living in a bubble. They doesn't know almost anything. If you don't tell them, they doesn't know almost anything is happening.
And I think were they to be in the UK, I think they would have felt very differently over the last year. The UK was completely shut down from December of 2020 until the summer of 2021. It was completely shut down. So for them, they were in this very special place, and I think that helped them in terms of how they felt. In terms of their welfare, because that was the question you asked, how they feel. I think they feel great being here. I think they when they're this age, I don't think they're jumping up and down and saying, "Daddy and Mommy, I feel so lucky that I'm here." They're not at that stage. But I think if you were to take that away from them, and they didn't have all those activities, and they didn't have this beautiful campus to run around on, they didn't have these wonderful teachers talking to them, and Miss Emily was just hugging Christopher as he came into school this morning. There's a closeness with the teachers and the students that you might not see elsewhere in the same way that you're seeing it here. I can vouch for that. My kids have been very, very lucky being here. Very, very lucky. We feel very. I think you can probably see that in the way that I'm speaking. I'm very grateful.
For me, it was much easier integrate here in this community than in another countries, because maybe it's more international and the people feel empathy with you, and you do a strong relationships very quick, and makes you be more, more happy, more.
Yeah, I mean, I think we both feel pretty integrated. We have a small group of people that we like to be with. They're all connected to the school, which says a lot. Again, the school again builds the relationships, and we found that those people that we're connected to also have the relationships from the school. We joined the PTA, both of us, last year. And what we've seen, obviously, with the different meetings, we wanted to be part of the initial parent meeting where you come in and greet the parents when they first come, because when we got here, that wasn't here. It couldn't be, because it was just, it was during COVID, and it was a complex time. But what we're finding is that that's a very nice source of not only friendship, but it's also a great source of how we can contribute as individuals to this big plan here. It's to get our kids through and get them learning, and get them to be hopefully learning from us to be contributors. It's what I say to my kids. We both say to our kids, to whom much is given, much is expected, and to get up every day with the thought as to how you can help others. And I think that being in a place like this will help them in their lives to realize how lucky they've been, and hopefully that will give them the impetus to want to give back. Oh, 100%. I think you can.
Yeah. Now we don't
You
want
can
to
see
go
that.
back.
Yeah. First of all, you can reach out to us, right? And I think you should reach out to parents to get an idea of how you're feeling about coming to a new place. When you get here, you should reach out to the parents that are here, and we can do everything that we can to help to integrate. We've already done that with with some of the parent mornings that we've been involved with, and kind of just walking around and saying hello, and if there's anything we can do to teach you about what we've learned, we'd like to do that. We'd love to be, I'd love to come up with lots of ways for us to integrate, not just the parents, but the kids when they first arrive in a more holistic way. And I'm all ears as to how we can help you to accomplish that. Because sometimes what I feel is that those first weeks are complex. And what people always said to me when I got here was give it time when you first get to Phuket, because there's a lot to get used to. But time really is your friend on this island, and you do find that there's lots of wonderful things to do and lots of people to be around, lots of places, wonderful places to eat, and an amazing amount of things that you can take advantage of being here. I would just say again,
Bake is one thing really good, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Bake. We come here, leave the kids, go to bake, get your coffee.
We didn't really talk about that, but when we got here, Anna took advantage of it. When we got here, we started hearing about these parent activities in the morning where you could go for a swim, you could play tennis. I haven't taken as much advantage of it because I've just got a lot of work demands on my morning. But if I'm to, if we remain here, which we hope we will take advantage of a lot more of that. Getting up in the morning, getting the kids to school, going and partaking in the tennis in the morning or some sort of an activity in the morning will be great for us. And I hope that we can continue.
Yeah, you feel like a big family here.
Yeah, I mean, your immediate. One of the first things we heard about was the parents being able to partake in those activities in the morning. Bake, which is the coffee bakery and coffee house, which is located on campus. We normally are there from the time that we drop off the kids until about 8:30 every morning. And we found that that's a very nice place for us to meet other parents and integrate, as well as to unwind a little bit when we're getting to school in the morning.
I feel very grateful. Every day I feel very grateful to be here. I'm a Spanish girl, and then for me the English always was a little bit a problem in my relations. And here make me strong, be more security. I can do everything by myself now and
More independent.
more independent. Yeah.
Actually, Anna and I only speak Spanish at home.
Yeah.
The kids speak Spanish, but they speak back to us in English. But we, as a couple, we only speak Spanish. And her English has gotten much stronger here, and her independence has gotten much stronger here, even than it was in England. So she...
in England was more a little bit shy and was more a little bit antisocial, just to not speak English. I didn't feel comfy in my English.
English are a little bit less forgiving, maybe. And what we found here is that everybody's kind of struggling a little bit with English.
And everyone has a different accent, and then they not pointing to you. You from there just for your accent, and it's it's not nice. And here I feel more strong, it helped me a lot.
we noticed this, interestingly. The kids went to a quite international school in Cambridge, where most of the parents were from everywhere in the first part of their education. Then we moved them to a very traditionally British public school, and we noticed that there was a big difference in the way that we felt. And this really brought us back to the way we felt about that international school in Cambridge, where most of the parents were from everywhere, versus where most of the parents were traditionally English. So it's a much more cohesive environment. It's a much more sharing type of environment. Yeah, and I think that would be one of the things that, just thinking about it, we will go back and we will feel the same way in Cambridge that we did originally. Although, at some point we will go back to England because the kids will be of an age where they will potentially go back. I think we would always remember the difference, and I think that generally just the openness here is much greater than you would generally have in a typical English school.
Anna's like beaming. She's like, yes, this is exactly what I want. I feel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We're again very grateful to all of you to do this, to help the prospective parents to be able to make a right decision. But I don't think that, and I can say that again, hand on heart, I think that making a decision to send a kid here, and in our case to send 2 siblings here, has been one of the better decisions we've made as parents. So we're very grateful again.